please go to the podium. Please sign the sign-in sheet located on the podium. State your name and the organization, interest, or person you represent before you begin speaking. Thank you. Now roll call.
Dupierre.
Here.
Clockman.
Here.
Kraske.
Here.
Laughlin. Absent. Weddington.
Here. I'd make a motion to excuse Chris Laughlin.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Councilman Dupierre and a second by Councilman Weddington to excuse Councilman Laughlin. Those discussion, could council please vote?
Four yes, one absent.
Motion carried. Under our consent agenda, we have minutes of the regular meeting held June 23rd, 2026. We have minutes of the special meeting held July 7th, 2026. Under the Ogallala Volunteer Fire Department probationary membership of Donald Crum.
I'll move to approve the consent agenda. Second.
We have a motion by Councilman Weddington, we have a motion by Councilman Weddington and a second by Councilman Clockman to approve the consent agenda. There's no discussion. Could the council please vote?
Four yes, one absent.
Motion carried. Okay, under public hearing, we have a proposed food vendor ordinance. I'm sure the council has had a chance to review this, and I think we have some people here in the audience that may want to comment on this. A couple of things that I want to comment on that I noticed on this.
Hey, Steve, a couple things. You set this for public hearing, so I didn't.
Oh, I'm sorry. We'll open this at 7:03. Under item A, under there, it calls it that they have to have toilets available or facilities available within 50 feet of the location. That, I mean, is that something we really need for a food vendor?
Availability of a restroom within a reasonable proximity is somewhat standard. I mean, it doesn't have to be 50 feet, it can be 100 yards. I mean, it can be whatever the council wants to set. But availability for hand washing, if they're gonna eat, if they're gonna consume anything on site. Availability of the toilet is.
I think the majority of these people, they don't have any tables or anything out. I mean, it's.
If they're sitting in their car wanting to eat, I mean, it's up to the council, and I'm just saying that's why it's.
I think it may be a little overbearing on that. I mean, that's my thought on whether it's available.
What was state law? Didn't Stacy Bauer say it was 200 feet? Is there a state law on that? It was on the state.
I don't believe it.
I glanced and I couldn't find this
Couldn't
law
find it.
with that. Mobile food vendors are primarily their business models grab and go.
Yeah.
You don't see a sit around stay. Because I personally have never been in a situation at a mobile food truck going, man, I really need to use the restroom. It's swing in, grab food and go. I guess for me, what I was hoping to see and hear from anybody in the public that wants to talk, I'd like to hear their perspectives before I jump in too much on my thoughts. I know we pretty much ended it 2 weeks ago with Chris Laughlin and I are
Sure.
gonna. Sorry, what's that?
Sure, you and Chris have had a chance to go over it, and there's some.
We wanted to wait till after this meeting, so
Okay.
we can collect public input before we really move forward.
Okay. Anyone have any comments, recommendations? Come on up.
Can we speak jointly from the podium?
That's fine.
Take
You're
turns.
both.
We normally do, just because we're one business.
Richard Gibson, under St. Jeff Brewing, like Lisa Strauss.
Also, owner of Second Chapter Brewing. So thank you for the opportunity to speak and present some thoughts on these guidelines. We appreciate the council's efforts to establish the guidelines. We do think that the scope and the clarity and the potential unintended consequences need to be thought through. And we did have a chance to review the recording from the previous meeting, which we couldn't attend. So I don't want to be redundant, but I do want to restate a couple of things that were mentioned in that meeting. For anyone who's not familiar with Second Chapter Brewing, we've opened in January 2023. We have a licensed commissary kitchen. We have electrical infrastructure for food trucks, and we regularly host food trucks. We have about 20 that have come and gone. We have dozens more that we've reached out to that we're hoping to invite soon. And some of those are, regulars, and others come once, and that's it. We always make sure that they have active food licenses from the Nebraska Department of Agriculture. We always ask for a copy of their liability insurance, make sure that they have insurance when they're coming. And in our particular location, we require no generator use because we're right next to a residential area. We think that those procedures are pretty necessary and sufficient for what we're doing. I think they provide a good safeguard for people who are coming to those food trucks. So throughout the ordinance as it's currently drafted, one primary concern that we had is there is no language that distinguishes between regulations that apply on private property versus regulations that apply in public spaces or city-owned spaces. And we do realize there's some regulations that probably apply across the board, whether that's a registration with the city or if it's something else. But there needs to be a lot more clarity in regards to which type of space is being discussed. There's a big difference between a private event like a wedding or a post-prom party or a public event that's on a private space like fundraiser at the Mansion on the Hill or an event at our brewery or something like that, all lumped together with things that are taking place on public spaces. One example of where that comes into play is with the proximity to permanent food establishments. It says that mobile food vendors must operate a certain distance from a permanent food establishment or obtain their permission. And I can kind of understand where if you were parking in a public parking space in front of another business, that may come into play. But if you're on a private property, it seems like this should be an invalid requirement. In a commercial business district, like where we are, a neighboring property owner could pursue a bar, a restaurant, a brewery if they wanted. So why should they be able to tell us if we could or couldn't pursue a different type of business venture on our property? So in our opinion, if it's zoned for it, it should be allowed, because those property owners, those tenants can change, and you would want to get into a situation where you're having to choose between or having to deal with those individuals that are manipulating businesses that are on neighboring properties. Another point about the customer toilet and washroom facilities. To the best of our knowledge, from what I've seen on the Nebraska Department of Ag and other regulatory places, food trucks are exempt from requirements to have customer washrooms and bathrooms. They are required to have an agreement of some sort for their employees. So if you're working in the food truck and preparing food, obviously you have to have food hand washing stations in the trailer, and you also have to have access to a bathroom. It's not required for customers, to the best of our knowledge. And I think in looking around our community, the places where that routinely host food trucks on their private property, you can think of like Walmart or Ace Hardware, Lured Inn, Family Dollar. Most of those places, food trucks are parked at the opposite end of a parking lot or away from the entrance. They're not parked within 50 feet. And at large community events like Rendezvous or County Fair, you know, portable restrooms are typically located off to one side. A lot of food trucks, I mean, you look at like Bubba's, I think you're almost 50 feet when you're hooked up, so you're not gonna have washroom in between every food truck. It's just unreasonable. And in our opinion, access to customer bathrooms should be dictated by the nature of the use or the occupancy of a building. So if you have a walk-up service, you shouldn't have to provide customer bathrooms. If you're inviting your customers to occupy your building, then you have to have customer bathrooms. So in our conversations with a lot of the food truck operators that come to the brewery, across the state, I haven't spoken to anyone who's familiar with another community that requires this, and I do think that this would be a significant barrier to food trucks coming here. On the subject of street shows, festival parades, block parties, because of our downtown location, we coordinate and we make a really big effort to coordinate whenever there's something going on downtown. We have to make a business decision about, does it make sense for us to open early? Does it make sense for us to close? Do we offer a special? Do we offer a different event to kind of complement what's going on at these festivals? And there are a lot of parades right in front of our building, or festivals that are right down the street. And those are business decisions. And again, this is where the distinction between public property and private property comes into play in these regulations. If you are a food truck looking to park on a public space, well, yes, the city should have a say as to whether that can be in the same place as this public festival. But if you're operating on a private space, I think that's a little bit different. When we first opened for 6 months, we had a food truck that was on site, or even 8 months. She operated every day. Sometimes those hours aligned with ours, but not always. And she didn't, it would have been unfair to ask her to close every time there was a parade, just because she's a mobile food truck as opposed to a brick and mortar.
And she had access to she had a code to our building, so she could access bathroom for herself, but not for her customers. The degree with any food truck, Tristan can attest to this. If people are coming up to buy food, they buy and go home, they're not looking to, that's all they're looking to do is to buy food and go home. If they're looking to buy food and come into our establishment, 99% of the time they're gonna come in and buy a drink, at which point they're our customers as well as his, and they are welcome to use our bathrooms. But we as a business don't provide bathrooms, and we never have in 3 years to any of the food trucks. Especially if we're closed, like if they're open, like our first food truck was opened at, well, she'd open at lunchtime.
Breakfast time, she had
Breakfast time.
meetings.
And they never had, I mean, I've never, in the many years of many cities I've lived in, I've just similar to Councilman Duke here, I've never expected a bathroom at any food truck I've ever gone to. I go eat food, and I either sit on a bench and eat it, or I go home. Or I sit in my car and eat it, but I don't ever expect anything from the food they provide.
And then the last thing that we wanted to mention, well, there's a couple less things, but a lot of the A through T or whatever it is, there's a lot of redundancy and overlapping regulations in some of these. So one example, letter D, I think is referring to Keith County Health Department as a regulating body. To the best of our knowledge, that department doesn't actually exist. I think that's intended to refer to the Nebraska Department of Ag. And I would definitely recommend that you refer to existing bodies and not create another layer of oversight. There's another point about alcohol sales. But alcohol sales from any vendor, whether you're mobile or stationary, you're gonna have to go through Nebraska Liquor Control Commission. And if you're selling alcohol on a spot that doesn't have liquor license, you're going to need a special permit for that. And you might need to work through the city to get those permits. There's another point about unattended trailers. A lot of times the trucks participate in multi-day events. They might need time to set up and prepare for hours before they're even open, depending on the type of food they serve. There needs to be a level of reasonable working with people. A lot of times these are single individuals operating these trucks. They may need to step away think that needs to be acknowledged. I think having a register so that there's a phone number listed publicly so that you can reach that person that's responsible for the trailer. And having a requirement that they have insurance. Those are reasonable requirements, I think. There's another letter L, talks about hours of operation. But the city already has noise ordinances in place, so quiet hours, yes, those exist, and yes, you probably shouldn't run a generator. But why couldn't you sell food to the people that are going to work early in the morning or coming home late at night or getting off the interstate? To me, that does not seem necessary. So I would recommend that instead of all of those line item regulations that you refer, create some sort of blanket statement. I was looking through some of the other past ordinances, like that bed and breakfast one talks about like, you must follow all of these rules, any applicable state and local regulations. Doesn't go into all of the detail this does. There's no mention of a fee schedule on this. I don't know if that is up for public discussion yet, but we would definitely encourage that you consider that really carefully, because these small businesses have to be tight with their pennies. And if you're setting this bar too high, they will make decisions to go elsewhere. I guess just in summary, you know, food trucks, they're different, they provide a different service than brick and mortar restaurants, but they still provide, you know, direct sales tax revenue. They attract visitors. We have people come from lots of neighboring counties where we can get different food trucks, or when we can combine a food truck with something else we're doing. We get people driving hundreds of miles to come to that. And they don't just buy food and a beer, they're also getting gas. They're also, you know, doing other things in our community, maybe even staying overnight. Another thing about food trucks that I think is really important to consider is that they're kind of entrepreneurial incubators. A lot of them go on to create other ventures. You know, they're experimenting with their menus, they're experimenting with their customer base, they're learning, and there's a relatively low startup cost compared to a brick and mortar. So, you already mentioned the
Our
one.
first food truck is now brick and mortar in Llewellyn. That's why she stopped doing food truck, because she has a full restaurant. She's been doing that for 2.5 years now, so.
So anyway, I would encourage you to think carefully through, you know, your goal is to protect health and safety and wellness of our community. And I think these, as drafted, go pretty far beyond that. So I think that there needs to be some clearer definitions of the public versus private. There needs to be some elimination of the redundancies, and then just, I would encourage the mindfulness of not discouraging these entrepreneurs. So I get really wordy when I write. I tried to write a 1-pager. I have a 4-pager. If you guys would like it, it kind of goes through basically what I said, but I'll pass it out if there's.
We would like a copy of that. So,
And then I would say, if you get like, because of the last, 4 years of our business, we have a pretty extensive knowledge of working with food trucks of various stages. We had food trucks that are the size of like a 1-horse trailer. We've had food trucks that are 40 feet long. We've had all sorts of food trucks. So if you guys have questions, there's probably some stuff that we could answer just because of what we've dealt with over the last 3 or 4 years and how many food trucks we've dealt with and different things. So by all means, if you guys have questions, ask us. And we have a fair amount of knowledge of it just because of our business model, what we do.
have you ever had any problems with food trucks vendors?
So
There's a few we
It's-
chosen not to invite back.
we've told people no when they don't have a food license. One guy got extremely mad on the phone. He said, "You don't believe me that I don't have a food license?" Like, well, if you send me the copy, then I'll believe you. And he got really mad and hung up the phone. Well, we didn't invite him because he couldn't provide a food license. Like, we're pretty adamant about food license and insurance. We've done that for 3 years. Like, we've taken it upon ourselves to we have our own essentially our own regulations of what we do, and they follow pretty much what the state would require, which is food license, insurance.
And then we work with them on, okay, if you're selling drinks, people can't bring in outside beverages to our establishment, so we need to work something else out and things like that.
But we have electricity, we wired our building to have plug on the outside for food trucks intentionally, so they would not run generators because of our proximity to residential neighborhood. Like, keeping that in mind, like I think most food trucks know. If they're at a fair or like Rendezvous, a lot of them have a generator. Because they're not close to electricity, but where we're at, we're able to provide that from the beginning. So I don't think I mean, I guess you'd have to ask the city police if they were had complaints of like noise from our food trucks, but I'm guessing the answer is no, because we've never once been. Never once had anyone show up because of it. In a bad way. Never once had a problem with anyone getting sick. I mean, part of it is like the due diligence of making sure people have food license.
I don't see the city going as far in this ordinance that we would have to, prevent a food vendor from taking their beverages into another business. I mean, that's
That's
between you and
Yes.
you and the vendor.
Anything
Yeah.
on our property is an agreement between us and whatever food vendor we have.
Sure.
And it'd be it's the same agreement we have. It's like, hey, like all your employees, here's the code to our door for you guys to use the bathroom. We do it for all of them. Like they have access, the employees have access to our bathrooms.
I agree. I think if we're gonna adopt anything, it needs to be very, very simple.
And part of it, when we read the ordinance, is that without the clear line of public space versus private. When Lisa mentioned the one about, permanent food establishment, like, I mean, our neighbor is the Elks, and it's a great establishment. If they were to sell by chance and it became a pizza place. If it doesn't say clearly that it's public versus private, our food trucks park 20 feet from their door. Cause they're right there.
Closer to their door.
They're closer to their door than to our door. So like that, something like that is, if you overlook it, it could be a problem, but it shouldn't be a problem just because it should be clear what is public versus private. Because what we operate is it's all private property for us. So.
I think your notes will be helpful. We have a couple of council members that have agreed to take a crack at this.
Okay.
If there's any questions, like by all means, like call us and ask. Thank you.
Welcome. What did you want for Chris?
Well, they definitely made my life easy, because that pretty much sums up everything that I had to say.
Yeah, is there anyone else who'd like to? Line up.
Bear with me, I am no public speaker. My name is Tristan Dupierre, owner operator of Bubba's Smoked and Loaded here out of Ogallala. Sure, you guys hit on a lot. I don't want to beat a dead horse, but restrooms, 50 feet, that's very close. Looking around, Kearney's 500 foot, access for staff or employees. Lincoln has no specific distance. Going off of the Nebraska Food Code that we have to abide by also, just like brick and mortars. Talking with Department of Ag, what they say is mobile food vendors, as long as we have access to a restroom for us and staff, there is no set requirement. Last year, when we passed our inspection, we were at fair, talked with the gal from Department of Ag, and there again is no specific distance. It could be you drive to somewhere where you do have access to a restroom. So even 200 feet, 500 feet, I think we go to Walmart typically every Wednesday. We park out of the way as much as we can, so we are a good distance from a restroom. But our protocols for us, we call whoever we need to speak to get permission to set up on the property. We make sure there is a restroom available for staff. And Richard, Lisa, you guys do more than most places we've ever been of providing our insurance, proving we have our food license, proving that we have our sales tax licensing. I have no issue with things, rules and regulations. I think it'd be great. And that would keep a lot of riffraff from coming into town. Question would be, in that ordinance of having written permission, from every property owner, is that something we can keep on file here with the city? So if someone calls and says, hey, does Bubba's have permission to be at Ace Hardware? And instead of wasting someone's time here to knock on our door and have that presented to them, is that something we could have a file here at the city too? Here's where we're going to a new location. Here's our written permission to be on that location. Just more, it's probably minute, but more saving. It's Jane that would come out, Kevin, but saving time on whoever's gonna police that. Just, you got it at your fingertips and.
I think our main goal in this is just to know who the vendors are. And have a contact and a number, so if someone said, I had a really bad burrito and. My whole family is sick now. That absolutely, that we can, find out who they are.
Traceability.
Yeah, that type of thing. I don't think we took a boilerplate from some
Water.
other, yeah.
It was the simplest one that I found of all the communities in Nebraska.
I mean, I think what we'll probably do is something referencing, state statute, what those requirements are, but. Again, I think keeping it fairly simple. I don't think we have to. Pile on any additional requirements.
I think.
Because we haven't had any problems.
If we're policing and somebody shows up and like I go and say, hey, do you have permission to be here? You can say, yeah, I got, here it is. The application itself, well, that's probably what we need to look at to make sure it doesn't require some of these more detailed things because you're mobile. But making sure that you have a Department of Ag license, sales tax license. The other concerns we've had are people setting up in parks, we don't know who they are. People setting up on the street, on the side of the street in a parking area, and their customer service window is in traffic. That's an issue that we've had. So that's really, I think, the intent that the council is trying to achieve in these licensing is just to make sure that everybody's aware. It's more of an awareness to the vendors that these are the rules for everybody. So that somebody can't come, because honestly, the biggest thing I get is you'll come in and say, well, Jimmy John's truck was doing this and he's not following, so we just want to avoid any conflict so that, we can go, okay, let's see if Jimmy John was in violation of the code. He's got all this other stuff, but he's serving in the traffic light. Or he's setting up in Collister Park without permission. I think that's more the intent. I don't want to speak for the council, but I think when this was originally brought forward 3 years ago, that was a concern.
The last thing I've got is trash. I know it's already been hit on, but we are mobile. We don't have a huge building worth of storage and trash can room to store that in our trailer. I could 100% see it if we were providing seating outside, tables, place to sit and eat your lunch or supper. But looking back, our average, we have a meal by the time you order and we're handing food out to you a minute, 20 seconds, and 99.9 of our business is the grab and go. Or fast food. And not a sit down establishment.
me ask you this, and I'll ask Lisa and Rick too, I mean, do you think we even need an ordinance? Do we need some regulation on this?
Absolutely.
Okay,
I don't think it hurts.
Okay.
I feel things can be simplified and. Honestly, I read that and it was, oh crap. That's a lot going on with it, so. I appreciate all of your time and
Can I answer, Steve?
sure,
You asked if we need an ordinance, and I mean. What we do, and obviously Tristan will attest, like we've done more in the last 3 years just by our own to make sure we're protected. So we're gonna keep doing what we do regardless of what the city does. Does the city need an ordinance? Maybe, maybe not. I think one thing that to consider is. We have food trucks call us sometimes the day before and say they can come in. And if there's an ordinance or a fee or something they need to apply for, we would then possibly have to tell them no. Because if there's a application, is it gonna be online? Is it gonna be, once you submit your paperwork, it's automatically approved? Because if there's a timeline of 2 weeks to review the paperwork, when we have food trucks who are fully licensed and fully insured who want to come serve at our place. And we have to tell them no because there's a city ordinance that is restrictive to what we do. And these food trucks aren't, fly by night food trucks, like they pay sales tax all over the state because they go to multiple communities, but sometimes they have availability last minute. At which point some of them come to us, once every 6 months. And if they're coming on a last minute and they gotta come get a permit and you guys are closed, how does that get handled? And we've had them for 3 years in the past. So as far as an ordinance doesn't bother us. We think that like having licensing and insurance is a must and follow the state statute. Outside of that, I think Austin said it last meeting, like this ordinance could be 1 page, not 4. A, B, C, and D should be enough to cover what we need to cover, and then to make it easy for people who do want to come in because they may be coming the next day. They call us at 6 o'clock at night, and they're coming at 7 o'clock in the morning to set up to cook food. How are they gonna get a permit? I guess would be my question.
good point.
Mr. President, the ordinance are generally not set up for the good actors, they're set up for the bad actors.
Sean Rubeck here for the Keith County Chamber. Everyone's made a great point so far. One of the things that actually, there was 2 things I wanted to ask. First one, understand with trash receptacles and everything, but the way that this is worded, disposed of, it cannot be disposed of in any public trash containers on city right of way or city property. You have events like Rendezvous and other groups like that. City blesses us with the use of Rendezvous Square. They bring us tables for people to eat at and trash cans for us to use. So that would make it a little hard on city property or a city receptacle. So just something small like that. And then to what Richard was just saying, in speaking with other places, do you know turnaround time of being able to get this? If I came in at 9 a.m. on Friday, would I be able to have it same day? Or what that time frame would look like, just as we're doing events, or if anyone else is doing events, knowing, hey, I'm 6 weeks out from an event, it's gonna take 3 weeks to get this permit. I know my vendors have to have it in by X date to make sure we have it. So just a couple things I thought of with regards to that.
Thank you.
I would think permit would be fairly easy to get if you come in with all your certificates, insurance and stuff. Here it is. You get a permit.
I'll comment on that quick. So that's something I've said kind of from the beginning is if we're going to do an ordinance, we should. I want to say it has to be, we have to be able to do it via cloud permitting. Where somebody could come in online at any point in time, upload their documents, read the ordinance or the rules and regs and agree to it and get issued a permit online. I think that's totally possible with cloud permitting, isn't it?
Once it's working properly.
Once it's up and working.
So
So,
do anything like that now? It's, yeah.
so I think that would be a really important thing
They
to,
can't pay online. The cloud permitting part of it's working, but
they can't pay online, but is that coming? Yeah.
we're told it is. But we've been told that for about 3 months.
So, I received an email from the chamber as well, and it covers pretty much everything that's been talked about tonight. I wanna just read this. Separate city licensing, food trucks already must meet state food safety licensing and inspection requirements. Is a separate annual city license necessary? And this kind of goes to your question, Steve. Do we need an ordinance? I think the answer is yes, and here's why. As a brick and mortar stores and mobile food vendors, yes, they have to follow the same state inspections, all of those things. But brick and mortar is exactly that. They're stationary and they're long term. If they're doing something illegal, they will get caught eventually. Mobile food vendors can pop in today and be gone tomorrow. We may not know who they are, if they have a health certificate, if they're paying sales tax, those kinds of things. So to me, we need an ordinance, but it should be pretty simple and to the point of. We need to know who you are, that you have the proper certificates to operate. And as far as rules and regs, I think they're pretty standard. I agree with all of these. I don't know why we're trying to restrict a mobile food vendor's operating hours. If it's noise, we have noise ordinance. If it's, we don't wanna make a mess and leaving trash in a parking lot or on the side of the road. I mean, that's, again, we have ordinances for all of those things too. So really, to me, about the only thing that should be in there is who are you? Are you certified? And then the biggest thing is city right of way. You're not authorized in any city right of way or park without written approval from the city manager. That's pretty simple.
Well, and permission to park on private property, that if they're gonna do it at the second check or wherever.
And I guess my disconnect with the private side of it is if Richard and Lisa show up for work tomorrow morning and there's a mobile food vendor sitting in their parking lot, they call the cops and say, get them out.
Well, exactly. I mean, and they would have to deal with that then.
So I'm not sure why you even need to call out too much of the private.
We don't need to enforce that, but we need to point out that, they have to have permission. The ordinance doesn't give them the right to go onto any property,
Sure,
private or public.
I agree with that.
Okay.
So I very much agree with everything that's been said here tonight, and that's kind of my thoughts and my approach on this. And then you probably need to call out something to the effect of, events. Just kind of, my assumption is if you look at Rendezvous Square, either Sean or Don is the event director. They're gonna get a permit to shut down the street. At that point, if they're calling mobile food vendors, they can make that agreement. They don't necessarily have to get approval from the chamber and the city. That sounded more complicated, sounded better in my head.
I'm
We
going
need to
to,
turn in all their information before we let them be a part of it, so.
Correct, and so that's kind of my thoughts on the whole thing is, yes, I think we need an ordinance, but it needs to be pretty basic. To the point that we could do cloud permitting, so that way somebody could pick one up right now and start serving food at 8 o'clock tonight if they wanted to. I would like to hear from the rest of the council, so that way when Chris and I sit down to kind of discuss this further, we know what it is you guys want to see.
I agree with you 100% what you said.
My view is less is best.
Yep. Keep it easy. Cloud permitting I like because if they wanna come in at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning and start serving breakfast, they can get on there and stuff buying fishing license and boom.
Okay, and I have to point this out. I got on Google Maps and measured it out, so I'm sure this isn't gonna be accurate within the inch, but the 50-foot bathroom thing made me laugh. Cause if you measure the rough distance from the seating area, front of house at Driftwood to the bathrooms is greater than 50 feet. seating area front, I'm sorry. Open range to the restrooms is greater than 50 feet. I mean, 50 feet is from here to the tree out front.
Our building is 80 feet long, so when you're at the front seats to go to the men's bathroom, you're gonna walk 70 feet to go to the bathroom.
If you walk down the ramp to the food truck, that's another 50
That's
feet.
another 50 feet down the road.
But the state requirements are you just have to have access to one. They don't require any distance or minimum distance or maximum distance, so I don't know why we would either.
Yeah, we don't even need that in the thing. There's no reason for it.
You know, that, there's something I wanted to point out about the cloud permit. So if you were trying to make it so that no employees have to actually access it for them to get their permit. They could upload a blank piece of paper, say, this is my sales tax stuff, there's no way unless somebody puts eyes on it to actually see that those documents are the valid documents.
And that's why we have their credit card information and a penalty for falsifying documents.
I think even on building permits, they have to be approved.
Yeah, I mean, you can't get a plumbing license without me going in and approving it.
Yes, so you're not gonna be able to register at 2 o'clock in the morning and serve breakfast at 4 o'clock.
But if it's a legit vendor, I think we give them some grace. I don't think we're gonna be out shutting them down. They're gonna get that.
Well, I don't-
First thing in the morning.
I don't think the council's intent in this is to be. Is to be.
Furious.
Or to be onerous or to.
You're gonna be restricted, so I guess back to your point. Steve, I think, I'm okay with them having to wait. Be approved, so if they put it in at 8 o'clock. When. The city office is open. One of the first things they do in the morning. Is look at it, so if they're approved by 10 o'clock the next day. Unfortunately, they would, if they wanted to serve breakfast the next morning, they wouldn't be able to. But. And then back to the fee. We haven't talked about a number. But I think there should be some number of our employees that are dealing with it. Right, that people with. And I guess I don't care what it is, but there should be some amount that is. And then the other thing is just making sure that we are tracking these, which I'm sure that's not gonna be an issue just based off of how we track everything else.
How long are your health certificates good for? 1 year.
Rick?
The
Do they all expire like in December or do they go a year from when you apply for it?
August 1st.
A lot of times it's on, like a liquor license, it's a certain month. With food license, I think it might have been like from
Whenever you apply,
whenever you apply,
12 months.
12 months they cut. Right, that's hard.
It's August 1st, so it doesn't matter if it's July 15th when you apply, you get approved. August 1st, you gotta pay that fee.
Could we just make our permit good for a year and?
Yeah.
As far as fees, I think it's more of a filing fee, $25 to $50, and that covers our expense to check it and approve it. We know who you are and how to find you.
It's been for a year.
Is there anyone else who'd like to address council on this matter? I think probably have
Enough info.
or less info. Less info there. If there's no other comments from the council or no one else public wishing to address the council.
I just want to say thank you for those that attended to speak on the subject. It's always nice to see people coming in.
We'll close the public hearing at 7:45.
Thank you for this.
We have nothing under public forum. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to address the council on something that is not on the agenda? Seeing nobody get up, we'll move on to the report of the clerk treasurer financial report for June 2026.
Okay, for the month ended June 30th, 2026, The revenues were $1,391,386.90. Expenses for the month were $1,163,858.63. Fiscal year to date revenues are $9,984,146.28. And fiscal year to date expenses have been $10,849,352.03. Fiscal year to date, the city has received $643,820.72 from franchise fees, $27,620.65 from telephone occupation taxes, and $140,711.63 from hotel occupation taxes. For the month of June, the city has received $28,716 in casino tax revenue. Fiscal year to date for that casino tax revenue is $219,703. And then the available unencumbered LB 840 balance is a negative $77,024.64.
Hey, we're getting whittled in.
We are. Anybody have any questions on the June financial report?
Any idea why we're seeing slight increase with the hotel?
You know, it just with the extra hotels out there, I mean, it's just busy time. I hear they're at full capacity this time of year, so.
And at the last chamber report, it sounds like tourism is up as far as lodging tax and foot traffic.
Any other questions or comment from the council? Not, thank you, Jane. Moving on to recommendations, departments, boards, and committees and administration. We have the League Association of Risk Management, 26-27 renewal.
Mr. President, we are a member of a insurance pool with other municipalities in the state of Nebraska through the league. The secondary insurance market continues to go up. The league through its pool just strives to keep insurance rates down by making a 3-year commitment. They offer a discount because that helps kind of plan for the future and stabilize their risk. So it is my recommendation that you agree to extend the 3-year commitment to the League Association of Risk Management.
And that gets us a 5% discount.
Yes. Not only do we save money, the league deductible is only $1,000 as opposed to $2,500. Some places their deductible through the private insurance markets $5,000 to $10,000.
Well,
So we
Go ahead.
sign a 3-year commitment, but we remove a few buildings or add some or remove some vehicles,
The rates are adjusted.
the rates are adjusted.
Yeah, it's not a blanket. So yeah, each piece of it has its own insurance.
Things still fluctuate, but we're just agreeing to stick with them for 3 years.
4 years ago, 5 years ago, when I first got on council, we were going through insurance. I talked to some local insurance carriers. They won't even touch us. I mean, they're not. We're not a customer that they frequent. Alarm is about
They're getting to be about the other one.
the only thing that's out there for us, and we're getting pretty good rates.
There's a tremendous amount of risk with assets in one small area, one storm. My understanding is that's what happened with McCook. McCook got hit really bad last summer, and even Larm was talking about it. It hurts.
Yeah. And the county does it through what is it, NERMA? Nebraska Insurance Risk, whatever. The same thing where the pooling counties. I'd like to see LARM and NERMA get together for the state it would insure counties and cities, but that's another day, another battle.
I would introduce resolution 2354 and move for its adoption.
Specify which category. For sure, I mean, we. 5%.
And we're gonna do the 3-year commitment at 5% discount, correct? Okay. Resolution regarding the League Association of Risk Management for 26-27 with the 3-year commitment, 5% discount.
Also,
All right, we have a resolution introduced by Councilman Dupierre and a second by Councilman Weddington. There's no further discussion. Give council please vote.
Four yes, one absent.
Resolution 2354 is adopted. Moving on, under item 6B, the airport attendant agreement. We're gonna table this because ROKI, their attorney has not reviewed the agreement yet, so it's going back in the report.
Just one comment on that, I might double check if I'm looking at it. The memo says that city will collect 2% fuel flowage fees, but in the contract, it's 3%.
That's my error in the memo.
So it is 3%.
It's 3%.
Okay. I don't think I have anything to really add to this with subtract, who's.
We went back and forth on a lot of numbers during the past 3 weeks in negotiating this with Ron, and so probably when I did the memo, I was thinking of what he wanted, this is what he.
And I don't know if I saw it in here, if I just missed it, but who's gonna pay the utilities at the hangar?
Utilities are paid by the tenant.
and then are we expecting any revenue growth on this police?
I think we'll see increased activities. I think you might see increased economic impact by having someone with a passion for aviation at the airport. In terms of budgetary impact, there may be some reduction of expense because of according to this agreement, they're agreeing to mow and keep things mowed. We will continue to maintain the facility. We will continue to pay for all upgrades. We'll make all the repairs.
Should see some increase in.
We'll see increase in fuel sales, but we'll only be collecting a 3% flowage fee. So I don't know that this is like one of those moves, Councilman Weddington, that we've done in the past. It's to contain our costs, to contain our exposure, while at the same time increase activity. It's a little bit, it's not a great correlation to compare it to the YMCA agreement, but I think the intent is the same, is to get this get this operated by somebody with passion and understanding of the aviation market to increase activities. I use the example for a pool a lot. A pool cost the Goodall pool was costing us about $5,000 a month to heat and cool, whether it had people in it or not. So if I'm gonna spend the money, I just shouldn't have people in it. I just shouldn't have it used. And it's the same way with the airport. I'd like to see activity out there. The alternative to this would be to take it in-house. We bring on it comes under the street department. We bring another street employee on board that would take care of accepting fuel, taking fuel weights. The biggest advantage, I think, in the whole agreement, not only the fact that we have somebody with passion, is they can follow the fuel markets. So we'll get more people landing. We'll see more activity out there. If that increases revenue, I would hate to make any promises because I anticipate it to be de minimis.
Answer my question.
Any other items? Yes.
don't think so.
All right, we'll get the. I would get the contract out to us, you know, as quickly as possible for our review, even, you know, prior to the agenda packet. So we'll take a look at it.
I don't anticipate major changes.
I don't either. All right, moving on, Housing Authority Annual Report.
I'm Laura Nielsen. Haven't been here in a couple of years, anyway, representing the Ogallala Housing Authority. Yeah. I just wanted to bring you up to date on a couple of things. I was the executive director for 34 years prior to the last 3 managers. I had a special meeting yesterday with the Board of Commissioners where they accepted the resignation of Danelle Kennedy effective June 29th. And so I was called to come back in and kind of keep the lights on and take up where she left off. And since I'm retired, I don't have anything else to do, so that's where I took the keys. Anyway, and so I've begun the process of advertising for the position and will remain as executive director until someone is hired and trained. I'm in the process of reviewing and updating time-sensitive reporting with rural development and everyday operations of the office. I did want to say I did have a chance to review the annual report that was submitted to the council, like we do every year, as prepared by Dana Cole and Company. In my opinion, it was a good report and actually coincides fairly close with what I had started to prepare with the previous manager in December and on into January. So that being said, I would welcome any questions on the report, I guess, if you had any.
You know,
It's quite a report, but
Yeah, I saw a couple things or more in it,
okay.
which we have them in our audit too. You know, they're not material deficiencies because it's lack of segregation of duties.
Yes.
We have that in our audit also because we don't have, you know, a treasurer and deputy treasurer, and then someone is reviewing that, you know.
Yes.
We don't have that many staff. The other thing I did notice though is they talked about insufficient collateral for uninsured deposits. In there it was that they recommended that you know, maybe spread your deposits. so they're FDIC.
Share the basket.
Yeah.
And actually before I retired, all of that was taken care of between the 2 banks. And I do know with Pinnacle Bank, I get a statement, or there has been a statement mailed, continued to be mailed on additional insurance covering those deposits.
Yeah, I tell you where I found that.
Okay.
It was.
Page.
Well, I'm looking at it. It's page 76 for the council members. It's page 76 of your agenda attachments, but it's it's on page 27 of the audit report, 2025-003, insufficient security deposits. So
Okay.
that did, you know, other than that, looked like a pretty good audit.
I think that I'm pretty sure at Pinnacle Bank, that's covered. I will do some checking with the Adams Bank and Trust. Yeah, I will do that. I've
Okay.
not been able to do that until yesterday's meeting when we took Janelle off of the signature cards and
Sure.
then appointed myself and then 2 other board members to re-sign and redo at both banks.
And I don't think we're at any risk of any of the banks in the community, becoming insolvent, but
But FDIC.
Yeah, if they're
Regular,
recommending
I
this,
understand, okay. And so that'll be noted, and that will be something that I will work on.
I mean, pretty good audit,
Or are you familiar with an ICS account?
Yes.
Cause that might be what you wanna look at, making sure you have enough funds in an ICS account. to
Peters
give-
and ICS account, yes, and I believe that
Because they-
Pinnacle
they-
Bank, we have that.
Yeah, they farm those out to other banks where you get their FDI insurance from the other towns' banks and they
Yes.
bank swap basically deposits. And Cedar's the same thing, yeah.
Okay.
are there any questions, comments from council?
No, thank you for stepping in and helping them out. I feel bad because once you step in and help, they never let you leave.
Well, we're gonna work on that. Yes, I appreciate the council, thank you.
Just
Yeah,
don't know how good they had it until you're gone.
I guess.
You or Jim, you still are, Laura.
Thank
You do a great
you.
job there. Thank you.
Appreciate it. I love it, so if, I wouldn't be there if I didn't, so anyway. Thank you.
All right, moving on under planning and zoning nuisance abatement, declared nuisance, 2026 OGA 15 PID 069000800 East First Street. Just, Paul's Plumbing.
Yeah, Mr. President, I had a conversation with Councilman Laughlin last week, or maybe earlier this week, that's kind of running all together. He's had a conversation, did you also have a conversation?
I did not.
He's had a conversation with the occupant of this location. I did drive by, there has been some significant improvement. The owner is working through some issues. Councilman Laughlin's recommendation was to offer a 30-day extension of nuisance abatement.
I did talk to Chris and I've gone past that place a couple times too, and they are working on it. They just a little slower. So another extension, 3 days. I think it'll.
I mean, the goal on all these things is for someone that, so that we don't have to go in and incur the cost of cleanup, so. As long as progress is made, I support that.
They were making progress.
Move to offer a 30-day extension on nuisance abatement to 2026 OGA 15 PID 069000800 1001 East First Street.
A motion by Councilman Dupierre and a second by Councilman Weddington to give a 30-day extension on OGA 15. There's no further discussion. Council, please vote.
Four yes, one absent.
Motion carried. Moving on, under wastewater, our SCADA system improvements. HOA Solutions, change order number 1.
Mr. President, as we've gotten into the wastewater SCADA improvements, the SCADA improvements to wastewater treatment plant. The original quote did not include upgrade of the module within the recirculation building or the pump building. For those of you who've been out there with me, the pump building is right there next to the wasting beds. I think that module failed at one time and it was upgraded, so they didn't include it in their original proposal. Once they got onto the SCADA system, upgrades, in order to integrate it into the new system, it was about a $12,000 expense with reprogramming. I got them to waive the programming fees, which is about $4,700. So I think you're looking at about an $8,000. That's manager math.
I heard.
7829.
There you go. About $8,000.
I recommend moving ahead with that change order.
I move to approve wastewater SCADA system improvement, HOA solutions, change order number 1.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilman Weddington and a second by Councilman Dupierre to approve the change order 1 on the SCADA system improvements. There's no further discussion. Could the council please vote? Right.
Not working for anybody?
Yeah, me.
Something happened.
The system's just building momentum for Michael Schulte's sakes.
And
There we go. Four yes, one absent.
motion carried. All right. Yeah. Moving on to a big ticket item. Our wastewater professional services agreement, for wastewater treatment facility improvement. JEO Consulting Group.
Mr. President, the moment we've all been waiting for, the $8 million moment, or seven, what is it, Michael, $7.5 million?
7.5, yes.
I think we've got approval for SRF funds. We're still pending approval on a congressional designated spending from Congressman Smith on some of that project, but we are in the process of prioritizing and moving forward on making those improvements. JEO has been working very closely with our operators people service. There was the original engineering analysis, and I think there's been some modifications and change in priority as we've went from 30 million to 11 million to 7.5 million. And so Michael's gonna tell us how we're gonna spend the money.
Yeah, so I sent a couple packets, so I do have them printed as well if I need to hand them out, but I don't know if they're in your.
They're all on their packet.
Okay, perfect. So I was gonna start with the one that has the wastewater treatment facility picture on there. So yeah, it's hard to believe it's been a couple years since I was here last. So thanks for inviting me back. I was here a couple years ago with Roger Protzman, who's the signing engineer. We kind of went through the engineering report in pretty good detail. Since that time, as Kevin mentioned, it's kind of been amended, kind of working through the funding process. There have been some delays with the funding and trying to work it out. The state invested some of their funding dollars elsewhere, and so it kind of took a little time to get Ogallala to the top of the list. So I just kind of wanted to kind of review kind of where things are at, kind of what this agreement is for and what this project involves. So just kind of have some excerpts from the engineering report. So mainly pictures, but just kind of wanted to review it in that way. That kind of covers then the agreement, which kind of has it in more words. So the second page is kind of figure 2.2, just a figure of the wastewater treatment facility. So basically with this project, everything out there is being touched except for the intermediate clarifier. So the influent pump station, it's getting electrical improvements, mechanical improvements. There's a few other things we'll look at in that building. The other buildings out there getting mechanical improvements to them. The primary clarifiers are getting new mechanisms. Same with the trickling filters, aeration basin, getting new diffusers, and then a new sludge drying facility. So that's just kind of a figure for reference. And then just kind of in more detail, there's other pictures in that packet. The next one just kind of shows figure 4.7, the existing mechanical screen. And that was part of the original kind of compliance order with the visit that the state made. That screen was kind of put in back in the time, and it wasn't permitted through the state. And so there's some deficiencies with it, so this project will look at replacing that screen and getting that properly permitted through the state and make sure that it is appropriate for your facility. The next figures, 2.7 and 2-2.8 just kind of shows some of that influent well, again, kind of in that influent pump building. That will be replaced as part of the project, and just kind of see the age of that facility.
Are those original, that piping there from when the facility was constructed?
I don't know if it's necessarily original or not, but it's been there quite a while. I'm sure some of it is.
Yeah.
Need paint.
Heavy coat of paint. The next figure, 2.31, just shows the existing grit classifier that will get replaced. There's kind of a schematic on the next figure. 4-2 just kind of shows a little bit. They look similar, but a little bit more of a modern version of it. Figure 2-35 shows the primary clarifier. I kind of like, it's hard to see a lot of stuff at the wastewater treatment facility because there's the water in there. But figure 4-3 kind of shows, what that clarifier mechanism is without the water being in the basin. So, I mean, it is a big structure that's in there, again, working 24/7, 365 days a year. Wastewater treatment facilities never stop. So things do get worn down out there. Figure 2-37 and 2-38, again, kind of show the trickling filter. And so again, there's a mechanism in there. It's completely broke in one of the treatment or trickling filters, I think wore down in the other one. So that equipment is on the docket to be replaced with this project. Figure 2-45 and 2-46 to show the aeration basin. And so that gets new diffusers. Again, hard to see because the water's in there, but figure 2-47 on the following page kind of has a schematic basically at the bottom of the basin. It's where the air comes and diffuses through the water, kind of promoting the treatment. Figure 2-57 shows the primary clarifiers. Those kind of get some algae that build up around the outside. It's kind of the finished water and goes out. So that algae can cause some maintenance problems and also increase just the total suspended solids in the sample that goes and records to the state. So there will be a launder cover, as they call them. There's a figure in just a little bit that one got a little out of order on me, so I'll come back to that. Figure 4-6, kind of one of the larger portions of the project, kind of shows that sludge screw press. So currently, basically, the solids at the wastewater treatment facility go to the digester, kind of stays in there for a while, and it's either land applied, liquid land applied, or taken to those sludge drying beds that are on the next page. And then it's allowed to sit on that sludge drying bed to dry, but there's only so many drying days a year. In the winter, it gets frozen, so that kind of makes them keep the sludge longer in the treatment facility, which kind of impacts the treatment that you're able to get out of the facility. So in order to kind of help maintain the long-term compliance, this sludge drying building, the screw press, will take those kind of liquid sludge, basically dry it through that process, then put the dried sludge on that drying bed. So it'll kind of be a little bit more of a continuous treatment. Then you can continue to
Can you still land apply those polymers?
You can land apply them, yes. So the next page, 4.46, that shows the launder covers for the final clarifier. Again, just kind of a cover to keep the sun off of that finished water as it goes over the weir. So that's kind of project and kind of the pictures from it. The next page just kind of shows the amendment. This just kind of gets into the budget for the project. So as Kevin mentioned, we did an amendment, kind of working with SRF and their amount of available funds, working with People Service as well to kind of revamp a little bit of what was in the original report, to try to reprioritize it. So we did that there. That's called alternative number one, the required improvements. That's kind of just, again, the necessary maintenance, some stuff from the state when they did their inspection, just to kind of address all of those things. And so that totaled about 5.5 million, 5.4 million. And so the state has $7.5 million available for Ogallala, so we were able to hold forward some improvements from kind of the midterm improvements, do more of the electrical as well. So that is table 2, basically that's a grit classifier. And then those primary clarifier mechanisms, that's that picture we looked at where you can kind of see it without the water. So kind of getting a new mechanism in those clarifiers. And so that kind of gets us to that $7.5 million project number. There are still some other improvements that were identified that would be, things to plan for, things to continue to strive to do. As Kevin mentioned, we did work with the city. The city applied for some money through the congressionally directed spending. And so if that money comes through, that would address some of these other improvements that are kind of crossed off on those pages. So just continuing on. So there is the SRF categorical exclusion document. What I like about this, it's just a nice summary of the funding for the project. So you can see it there again, 7.5 million that we've talked about. Of that 7.5 million, actually 1.625 is loan forgiveness or grant dollars. So the remaining 5.875 million is low interest loan money, basically 20-year term and with an effective interest rate of about 1.5%. They have a 0.75% interest rate and a 0.75 admin fee, so just about a 1.5% interest rate total. And so on the back of that page is kind of the budget that the state approved for the project, again totaling the 7.5 million, so that this does include the engineering agreement fees. So that's part of the 7.5 million. So that is listed there. So that totals about just under 1.4 for engineering and project inspection fees if you add 4 and 5 together. And so then the last page is just the cover page for the engineering agreement. And again, a nice summary, just kind of shows the design fees for the project, bidding, construction observation, and then the SRF compliance. So totals 1.189 million for the engineering fees. Are there any questions about that? That's kind of the first packet. That's what I was kind of planning to spend the most time on. And then the second packet's just the formal agreement, kind of puts that scope into words and has some attachments for the report.
Okay, I'm gonna need some assistance from Wilkins here. My understanding is some of the biggest issues we have out there is the drying beds and the sludge or the material that we're putting on there is too wet. So that's where that screw and the polymers are gonna come in. It's going to, one, get the material drier, so when we put it on the drying beds, it has a better chance of evaporating quicker. And so that's how we're solving that issue, is
Correct.
the screw and polymers.
Yep,
And
yep.
then are we increasing the size of the drying beds, or we're just going to fix the drainage issue underneath them?
So what happens now is when the sludge goes on there, it's pretty liquidy. I mean, it's kind of like a slushy or a slurry or a shake, consistency. This will dry it to, they call it like a cake. So it,
Drying beds won't be needed.
yeah, the drying beds will be there to kind of just store the cake material, but it's a lot. It's not quite like potting soil. I mean, it's kind of like a jello, I guess is probably the best way to say it. They call it a cake, but a jello is probably a little better visual to it. I mean, it'll continue to dry on the drying beds, but you won't have to, spread it out and take up all that room. We're actually planning to put the new building that those screw presses will be in, probably just in the corner. That's that red square that was shown. So probably removing just a part of the drying beds. So you'll have plenty of space for the sludge.
Thank you for that info. And then I guess my understanding is the overall design of the wastewater treatment plant was to handle 11,000.
500.
And we can see that it's somewhere in here, just the amount of gallons per day was designed for to what we're actually bringing it in. And that has something to do with the trickle filters, right?
I think it had to do with the design standards and the effluent at that particular time. Effluent requirements have gone up, and I should let Michael answer this, he's probably better at it.
Sure. Yeah, no,
I
there.
guess what I'm trying to ultimately get to is this going to fix our problem, long term, or we just kind of throwing a Band-Aid on it?
We've been shooting for a 20-year fix with the $7.5 million.
Yeah.
We're looking at a 30-year fix with the 12 million. And then the other option was a new plant, which was 45 million.
Okay.
Yeah, this would be the third page of the original packet that we started looking at just after the figure of the wastewater treatment facility. I included that in there, just kind of anticipate it's a common question that we get when we come to these council meetings. It's just the capacity of the treatment facility. So yes, in 1985, with kind of those design standards, again, there's kind of different capacities with different equipment at the treatment facility. So yeah, it's like one thing might be able to treat a little bit more, but there's always a limiting factor in there. And then in 2000, when there's an updated design, again, some of those just parameters change, so it's a little bit less. You can see that your existing conditions are about half of what that 2000 design would still apply.
So what are we doing specifically with the 7.5 million that is going to bring our existing condition up to, the design?
Well, the existing condition, that's not the capacity, that's how much flow is going out there. So in other words, you could treat up to 880,000, but on an average day, only about 400,000 is going out there. So basically that's saying that you're running the treatment facility at about half its design capacity.
But that's kind of been our issue, right? We
Well,
don't have enough flow.
When the engineers looked at this, they took an event in consideration our growth rate. I think what the question you're asking is how big can we grow and handle the influence? And I think this design we can go up to 6,500 or 775.
Right, yeah.
It's in the bigger analysis.
I mean.
We
so-
can handle the original plan was designed for, let's say 11,000. The repaired plant for this condition, for design standards for today will handle a town of about 6,500. Which at our current growth rate is about 20 years.
What's been the issue we've had with the trickling filters? And are we fixing any of that with this?
The trickling filters are
Basically, the mechanism just broke, so yeah.
and the seals are cracked, and so you don't get the hydraulic pressure to turn the trickling filters.
And that's included in this.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you for that.
You bet.
Michael, are we locked into, can we modify these repairs if we make discoveries?
I mean,
Like on
yeah,
the laundry covers, can we put brushes instead of laundry covers if that's what the operator prefers?
right,
There's
yeah.
concerns over things like that.
We
We're,
can-
we're waste, we can't waste out of the, we can't waste out of the clarifiers to the digester. Everything we waste out of the clarifiers has to go back to the headworks, which we discovered in this last plant kill. You can't get rid of the plant, the the adulterated material, because the only way we can waste it is we have to waste it back through.
Sure.
So all we can do is slowly continue to dilute it, because the adulterated material settles in the clarifiers, and we can't waste it to the digester.
Yeah, you have a lot of flexibility with SRF as the funding agency, so, I mean, basically what they've said is. They agree with the report, you know, they've reviewed that, their engineers, agree with it, so as long as we kind of meet that intent, we can make.
So the
Makes
council
tweaks
benefit,
to it.
as long as you can put your stamp on it, we can continue to work through this. Like I know we've had some conversations about, and I keep losing the battle on the drying, on the screw press. Because I see that as additional operating costs with the polymers, but I've been convinced that the drying beds are not terrible, so this is the best option for that, but.
Yeah, that's pretty common for wastewater plants to have you know, there's screw presses or centrifuges, there's different kind of equipment to dry it, so there's different ways to go about it, but I think it's kind of. You know, at the time, drying beds, a lot of stuff were used to try to, you know, conserve energy, which makes sense. But then, you know, as they're in operation for a while, people kind of started to realize that some of the flaws that come with them and the hardships, and so things have kind of moved on to having those sludge drying facilities. So it's very
What's
common.
the loan? We may not know these details now, but the loan terms on the SRF funds,
20 years is.
20 years, 1.5%.
and we're hoping this fixes it for 20 years.
It should.
Yeah, I mean, it's
there's
just-
gonna be maintenance repairs.
Kind of like an old car that you're repairing, but I mean, you still gotta, you know, change the oil, you know, change the tires. I mean, there's still gonna be stuff that comes up, and then, you know, there could always be something else that was in good shape at the time, but you know, fast forward 5-10 years, all of a sudden it wears out. So
I think at the $7.5 million fix for future cancels, they need to be preparing for a new plant. And I probably would look at plasma plant as state of the art.
it is. That's where all the SRF money went. But yeah, I mean, your plan is good. I mean, it's doing the job, and it's always hard to predict those things too far out into the future. But yeah, this is gonna repair, and it's gonna do a good job, and we will work with you know, your current operators, people service. The first thing that we'll do. I mean, we were out. Time flies, right? 3 or so months ago. I think it's longer ago than that, but and met with them, did a tour of the facility, and kind of did that revision to the report, just to kind of update things. And then the first thing we'll do is have a kickoff meeting to kind of talk with them as well, and the city staff, just kind of talk through it and be like, all right, this is the project as, you know, we understand it and what's been presented. You know, are there some tweaks that we need to make? Let's talk through, let's make sure we're all on the same page going forward. So
It's good that people are involved in it too, so, you know, as our operators, they can feel comfortable with these repairs going on. As I understand, as we looked at this, and we kept calling this back to the $7.5 million, that as future funding becomes available for new technology or whatever, I mean, we could move forward again with letter loan, whatever technology at the time, you know. Back in the 70s, it was the drying mills. Now we're to a screw press.
yeah,
That type of thing.
This fixes the bones.
Yeah,
It does,
This
yeah.
is the.
Is people services happy with this design?
I'm glad that we have people service on board, because they operate several different plants, so it puts a different perspective. We only know what we've been doing for the past 50 years. engineers only know what they can see. So as we've been having these problems and, you know, we all of a sudden we discover that we can't waste out of the, clarifiers. We, you know. It is an the whole that one, because of all the additions, it is an Eichner's drawing underground.
But people services happy with what this is proposing.
Yeah, people services is anxious to see things fixed. Cause we're crawling in the trickling filters and moving them 5 feet twice a day.
Do we have enough flow to continue to operate those trickling filters?
Once we
when
get
they're repaired?
once we get the seals fixed and we've learned the lesson to not shut one off and turn the other one on, not just keep them, maybe operate them slower, but not alternate them. Cause I think from what people services told me, that's what causes damage to the seals. It's because we operate one for a while and the other one dries out. So we operate that for a while and then we let this one dry out. And the constant wetting and drying of a seal causes it to crack. So you don't have the hydraulic pressure to move it, and then they're damaged. Like we're talking about with the launder cover, the original engineers recommending was put these covers. Well, their operators are saying, well, you know, if we still have that, now if we have algae buildup, we've got a cover that we gotta deal with. Is it possible to put a sweep on it? Because what they're doing right now is they're going out there with a broom. So can we put a sweep on an arm that sweeps? We've made some other innovative operations. We put heaters on the arms to keep the clarifiers from freezing, because they froze once and broke. That was, what was that, Jane? $78,000. I know you wanna look it up.
In manager math, that's better.
And manager math was 78,000.
But we work with people service in many other communities as well, so we have a good relationship working with them on projects, and yeah, we take their feedback into the design. So they'll be involved throughout. Appreciate that.
What question? I see 2024 overall facility plan.
Mhm.
Are these prices updated for 2026? Because I see you prepared to report on March 4th of 26, but are the prices, are they 2-year-old prices? Have you updated the prices for the?
We looked through it. We kind of made some adjustments as we did the 2026 report. Again, they're just that, they're budgetary numbers. It's always hard for us as engineers. The most nervous we ever get is on the bid opening day, because we're always wrong. We're either high or low. We're never correct. So it's they are good budgetary numbers, you know, and then we'll kind of work through it, and we'll design it in such a way that if the bids are high, we'll have a conversation then to kind of figure it out. If they come in low, then we'll figure out what else we can do with that 7.5 million. So.
Councilman Buckman, that's another advantage to having an operator that operates in other areas. I mean, they know prices. Where when Jane and I used to get invoices from the wastewater treatment plant, we were immediately suspect because everything was ridiculous.
Yeah, and I mean, there's wastewater treatment facilities. I mean, we work with other ones in the state, but it's not as common as, you know, water main pipe or sewer main pipe. You know, you kind of get bid after bid on those types of projects. These things are a little bit more unique, and so it is a little bit tougher to pinpoint the exact price on those things. But yeah, we believe that what's in there is.
I know on electrical it's changing daily. It's just going.
Oh, for sure.
Copper wire and
Yes,
stuff,
yes,
so
for sure.
electric motors, same story.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's something we'll keep updating as we go through and have check-ins. We'll kind of update the cost based on.
You'll be around tomorrow.
What's that?
Are you meeting with people service tomorrow? Are you gonna be around?
I am not meeting with people service tomorrow.
Yeah.
No, I haven't decided yet. I mean, I could meet with them if there was some, but I wasn't.
Yeah, if you were, just let me, I was gonna sit in.
Sure. Now, the first thing we do is arrange a kickoff meeting. So.
Okay, we'll wait for them.
Good questions. Anything, other questions?
That, I'm looking at the itemized list, and that screw press, I would assume. The fact that it's in here, that we have to add another building out there. We obviously don't have room to put it somewhere else. So we have to build a building. You still confident that's the best route to go? With the cost of polymers and everything else?
I don't know that we have much, I mean, we can look at various other options of drying mechanisms, but the drying beds are not one. There are some things in the digester building that I think we need to look at, because the digester building, the flows going back and forth. I think we could get more drying out of the digesters that we are, but that's not going to be enough to eliminate the need for a drying mechanism.
What was the last project you finished? I'm still skeptical on the price. Anything in 2025?
Yeah, we're designing Nebraska City, kind of an improvement. It hasn't bid yet, but that design's getting close to being finalized.
What do you see in prices there?
I mean, it just varies. So, we just took a bid in North Bend. There was a new treatment facility. It was kind of a mix between a lagoon and mechanical treatment facility, but it had all the electrical in there, and they had 8 bidders. So there's a lot of interest in it. The contractors are kind of looking for work at the moment. So, and I don't remember, to be honest, the cost was a little bit above our opinion of cost, but it wasn't like 5% over. And I mean, they vary. The low bid, the high bid's twice what the low bid is. So I mean, it's always so hard to kind of look at that and figure out, whose bid is the one you should use when you're pricing kind of budgetary projects like this. So. But those are, I mean, good questions.
Yeah, I look at what your contingency is and stuff like that, and it's just me, but.
Quite the deal, isn't it?
The good news is we finally got the money. That's been a struggle.
So are we fixing anything in the digester with this?
I don't know that we'll be doing anything with this, but as part of this overall project, what we're gonna be looking at is are there operational things? Through this process, can we get those digesters lowered enough to maybe figure out with,
Yeah, I
kind of brainstorm
right.
with the engineers is there a couple of the pipes are not, they're either clogged or they're like probably like my arteries. They're not quite shut, but they don't flow like they should.
It would seem to me, and correct me here if I'm wrong, but if we don't fix the digester and we continue to have wet material, that's just more money we're going to spend in polymers.
The digester will, the functionality of the digester will be approved. It's 2 different questions. Is it part of this? Probably not. Will it get fixed? Will improvements be made? Yes.
So the digester just keeps that sludge in there. So with the new screw press, you'll be able to just pull out the sludge kind of a little bit more systematically, a little bit more routine, kind of fits in. Okay, a lot of towns are like, hey, we run the press on, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, or whenever it is. So you're just kind of wasting sludge more right now. I think you're kind of like keeping it in there, and it's kind of a pain to get it out and dry, and you can only do it in the summer. So you're kind of really keeping it stored in there and trying to manage it inside those digesters for long periods of time, versus once you get this going, it'll be pretty systematic, and you'll be able to control the amount of sludge in the digesters, and so they'll function better.
It's the control side. Because the digesters are connected and they don't, at different levels, and they don't flow back and forth like they should. That's not something we're gonna take but we're gonna take it apart and replace it. We're just gonna clean it out.
Thank you for that.
This is something you believe in wholeheartedly?
Yes. I mean, we've been doing this, we've been looking at this for 4 years. I know way more about wastewater than I want.
I figured that the day you and I toured, but.
There's some discussions going on right now. Do we need another percolation bed. Would that get us better in compliance? Those are all stuff, as we get into this, we'll be working with the engineers, trying to figure out, well, okay. Cause the ultimate goal since the beginning is if we're gonna spend this much money, we don't wanna see $1 million repairs every year like we have had for the past 10.
You don't wanna go back to the people and say, we need 2 more million.
Well, yeah, we don't wanna go back to the people and say, oh, by the way, we need to raise your rates another 30%.
Correct.
The rates that we have gotten up to this point. I think are close to covering the SRF loan. That's the reason we raised the rates to this point, was in anticipation of that. We've maintained our operational costs. I think we should be all right. The problem we have right now is we have no cash in the fund right now. Cause we spend it on repairs. We cannot continue to make $700,000 to $800,000 worth of repairs every year and pay off this loan.
And this should take care of, this will take care of our problem. Not saying it should, this will take care of our problem.
Yeah, I
Next
mean,
spot.
we're gonna address what I said, yeah, so I mean, all the primary clarifier mechanisms, the diffusers in the aeration basins, yeah, all the things we went through, yeah, I mean, I can't predict, like I said, we're not touching the intermediate clarifier, so if something, breaks on that, again, it's hard to, I mean, it's a mechanical thing, it's working, I mean, it's probably the toughest job in any city, it's just constantly running, harsh environment, so I mean, things do, it's a common complaint, I get asked that question a lot, and so I don't want to make any like guarantees or anything like that, but I mean, we're gonna repair those things that are in this report.
Fixed.
I like flushing when it's going somewhere other than
Yeah.
the bottom of a pit.
Yep, I agree with you.
And we'll have to adopt an ordinance on outhouses. If we're when you get a tour of this facility, which will go on, probably prior to budgets, I mean, it is very, very, very complicated. And it's amazing what it does. And it is a very harsh environment. And
I think there would have been out.
I've been there.
I know you have. You've been, okay.
Thank you, Wilkins, and appreciate you helping answer some questions. Not trying to attack anybody, just making sure we're spending money wisely.
Other questions?
No,
Yes, if you're ready to proceed, the next step is just to approve the engineering agreement and we will get started.
So that looks good, Wilkins.
JAO's been great to work with.
well. I'll move to approve. Professional service agreement, wastewater treatment facility improvement, JEO Consulting Group Incorporated, and authorizes council president to sign the agreement.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilman Clockman and a second by Councilman Dupierre to approve the professional services agreement for wastewater treatment facility with JEO. If there's no further discussion, questions, could the council please vote?
Or
Thank
yes,
you.
one
Thank you.
absent.
Motion carried. Thank you. Moving on, report of city attorney. Report of city manager search.
Primarily, we've been pretty occupied with the city manager search the past couple of weeks. Last week, we invited 2 participants to come to Ogallala to interview with the community and then the council. One of those withdrew as he had accepted another position in Illinois. We did interview a young man by the name of Tel Jensen. We hosted him to Ogallala on Monday and Tuesday of last week. Tel remains a viable candidate. The council at that particular time decided they wanted to before jumping in and making such a huge decision, to go back to the pool and have a few more conversations with some individuals that we had not had a chance to visit with, or we chose not to visit with in the initial round of cuts. The selection team interviewed 4 additional candidates yesterday. A couple of those are still under consideration, and we have one more interview with the selection committee on Thursday. It is my hope that by Thursday that the selection committee will come away with some recommendations or a recommendation to make to the council as they either move forward with additional on-site interviews or otherwise. But ideally, I think the council's goal was to have someone in place during budget as we go through the budget process. Supervisors are being sent their budget worksheets this week. I would like those budget worksheets back by next week, so that Jane and I can start meeting with them, setting up those department head meetings and going through their budget worksheets, so that we can begin our budget workshops next month.
Yeah, it'll be, some of the candidates we could probably get in time and quick enough to, be part of the budgets, others, may not be able to get here as fast, so.
And those will all be considerations that I think that will be part of the discussion. Recommendations.
Any questions from the council? Okay, project updates.
Wastewater treatment plant, you heard that, we had an issue, alarm this morning. With one of the pressure reducing valves of the ground storage tank, was not operated properly. They got that resolved. The pressure issue, there was no infrastructure issues related to the pressure issue that you had in your house. We had the race, the horse race, had a great crowd. That was our first major official horse race, other than the demonstration race last week. Couple of minor incidents at that event that were handled. We had a contracted police presence at the event, as well as contracted EMS presence at the event. Other than that, I really don't know. Jane and Brandon are continuing and frustratingly working through issues with CloudFormit on the payment system. We were sold that system based upon the fact that they integrated with our payment system, and it's not really working out like we could hope.
Who's our payments provider?
It's Payport. Tyler Technologies. It's
Say, what was paid for?
Tyler Technologies is the name of the company. They, that's like this, they have the state bid to do all of the credit cards. So anybody that wants to go in on the state bid for credit cards uses the same company. The problem is CloudPermit integrates with Payport in another state, which is not Tyler Technologies, and a lot of things to work through.
Are they are they fixed?
We haven't fixed them yet.
They're being told, we've been told, weekly, yes, we're getting it fixed, but it's not getting fixed.
I instructed Brandon to reach out to them and to express his dissatisfaction. We won't renew the agreement. And other issues.
You just have to stay on them on the daily, or they don't, they put you on the back burner.
Anything else for an update?
That's it.
Okay, we have nothing for council member reports. With that, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn. So moved.
Second.
A motion by Councilman Whittington, second by Councilman Dupierre to adjourn. Council, please vote.
It's good. It's gonna keep us here.
Sure is. You're gotta vote. Oh, there it goes.
Take care.
4 yes, 1 absent.
Motion carried, we're adjourned. Gentlemen, thank